Apple configurator में there is one way that you can directly connect the device with the USB cable with your Mac device, and from there you can upload it to ABM. Or there is also a new way which there is a Apple configurator application which now you can download on an iPhone or iPad. Using this Apple configurator application, uh, you need to sign in. So currently I'm signed in with the uh, Atos tenant, but if you have a ABM tenant जो ABM admin account है, जो जिसको डिवाइस एनरोलमेंट मैनेजर की परमिशन है या फिर फुल एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर राइट है, यू कैन साइन इन टू दिस पर्टिकुलर एप्लीकेशन एंड हैव दिस एप्लीकेशन रेडी. तो इफ यू ब्रिंग अ न्यू डिवाइस आउट ऑफ द बॉक्स, ये कैमरा से स्कैन कर रहे हैं. इफ यू सी इट इज एक्चुअली स्कैनिंग फॉर द कैमरा. ठीक है. So if you just you don't need to scan any QR code or anything. Just bring the device near to this camera when the device is turned on. First, when you turn on a device out of the box, it will first come into वो जो नमस्ते हेलो इंडिया वो वाला स्क्रीन में आता है. And then from there you first connect to a network and then sign in with Apple ID and then वो कुछ नहीं करना है. वो जो फर्स्ट स्क्रीन आता है उसी स्क्रीन पे जस्ट कैमरा को पॉइंट करना है. एंड द एंड ये आईपैड उस डिवाइस को एबीएम में अपलोड कर देता है. So this is also a way you can do it. Okay. So two ways of getting devices into Apple Business Manager. One is via the vendor, one is via Apple Configurator. And once you have the devices in there, अरे बंधु, okay. Once you have the devices in there, it needs to be synced with Intune. So how you sync to Intune is via the means of uh, DEP profile, device enrollment program profile, which is still the previous name of automated device enrollment. So when Intune has the devices synced, you can create the DEP profile and assign the profile to the devices. And the same profile will be assigned to the devices on the Apple Business Manager by Microsoft Intune. This is the administration part of it. Now, coming to the user part, when user opens the box for the first time and powers on the device, or if it is an existing device, then you reset the device and power it on for the first time. The device will connect with Apple Business Manager. It will know that it is a uh, corporate device, and the remote management profile will be pushed by ABM in this case during the device initial setup. So remote management profile is now not pushed by Intune. It is pushed by the Apple Business Manager to enforce it. From there on, the device will enroll to Intune. It will receive the managed configuration of the device, and then it will go through. It works normally. एंड इस सिनेरियो में दो केस होता है. The device when it enrolls to Intune, it can ask for user credential. So then it is a automated device enrollment with user affinity. And ये enrollment without user credential भी हो सकता है. Then that is a automated device enrollment without user affinity. Right? यही पूरा स्टेप है एबीएम का, और कुछ नहीं है.
So Joy, device needs to be synced to Intune. So for that, do we need any connector for that? How it happen, Joy? So
The DEP profile, the DEP token that you create.
mm-hmm. Token. Okay.
So now let us go into looking into how we set up automated device enrollment. So first is if we are purchasing devices from a vendor, so from the Apple Business Manager portal, we need to make a note of the organization ID and provide that organization ID to the Apple reseller. But with this ID, they will be able to upload the devices to this particular ABM instance. ठीक है? And we also will have to register the reseller in ABM. Uh, जैसे we will provide a organization ID to the reseller. In the similar way, the reseller will also provide us with a reseller ID that we will need to add in the ABM. So we will go into the settings, device management settings, and from there into the customer numbers, we will click on edit and we will add a reseller in there. So this is the first step that we are building. Uh, is the same concept that we have for autopilot if we are purchasing devices from Lenovo, or if we are purchasing devices from Dell or HP or any other autopilot vendor. We have to first create a vendor organization trust relationship. So this is exactly the same that is happening. Now the ABM part is done. So in Intune, what we need to do is you go into the enrollment program tokens and you click on the add button to start creating a DEP or ADE token. DEP is the previous name, ADE is the new name, but it's the same thing. And once you do that, the registration is something similar to how we did for the APNS as well. So it will have a link. You have to click on the I agree, download the public key, then open the Apple Business Manager. Uh, in Apple Business Manager, again, you will come into device management settings. You will create the MDM server, choose the file and click on save. It will give you the server token, which server token you will again take that back to the Intune portal, provide the Apple ID and the token and click on next and your profile will get created. And you now have a dep token, and once you have the dep token there, you can start syncing your devices to Intune. ठीक है, फैक्स में बाद में आते हैं थोड़े देर बाद.
So
ये तो
Joy,
मैंने
so it creates a Apple server. What is exactly that mean server, Joy? Is it
the
like a
server is a
uh,
token
token?
basically.
Okay.
See, a same Apple Business Manager can be linked to multiple tenants. Example, this instance of Apple Business Manager that I'm opening is the Poland one, which is used for the training and things like the internal purposes. But if I look into the locations, I have three tenants connected to this. It is connected to my tenant, it is connected to the Hubert's tenant, and it is also connected to the Atos Delivery Center Poland tenant. So the devices that is in here, these devices can belong to any of these three tenants, right? But I will need, like if I have, say for these three devices will be connected to my tenant, these three devices will be connected to Hubert, and this device to be Poland, then I need to create those MDM to servers and assign those devices within those servers and then sync it with those Intune tenants. So how do I do it is we go into preferences. Here you will have MDM server assignment. Uh, okay, first is your MDM servers. Wait. Do we have, so I already have a MDM server in here. Apple configurator, I have zero devices. Joy Intune MDM, I have zero devices, right? But here, for example, okay, the customer number I told there is one reseller here. So this reseller is currently already enabled to upload devices into this ABM instance. So if you have another reseller, the reseller will give you something like this reseller ID. You can just put in the number in here and click on add and it will add that reseller. You click on add here, but we will come to this later. We also let us open Intune. Do we have any device in here that is unassigned? This iPhone 7 is unassigned. Okay. This MacBook Air is also unassigned. So for this purpose, I can actually do this. Go into iOS, iPadOS enrollment. We go into enrollment program tokens and I see that my token has already expired. So this is of no use. I can go ahead and delete this, but why am I not the admin? ठीक है वो बाद में देखूंगा. We can click on add. We create a new token. Then the token is done. We can go into Apple Business Manager, preferences, MDM server add. Let us name this Joy new MDM. So this is just an identification, right? We are just identifying that this server particular it says as a server, but it's actually a container. This server will locate my devices. So I upload the public key that I just downloaded and click on save. This will give me a new server token so I can download it from here. I download the server token, go back to in no. Before we complete that, let us also come back into the devices. This iPhone 7 is currently unassigned, so I just edit the MDM server, click on assign, assign to the join new MDM server, confirm, and this phone will get assigned to my uh, new token. And now we come back to Apple. We upload the token in here. We mention the Apple ID that we performed the actions with, and we click on next. We click on create. The token will get created, and once it is created, it will start syncing. Syncing is in progress, so you can retry in 15 minutes. You cannot just click on sync. That will create a bottleneck, so you have to just wait for some time. And once the syncing is complete, you should be able to see the device here in Intune. So as you can see, iPhone 7, it has synced. You can see the device is in Intune. This device does not has a profile assigned. So next thing is what you need to go and create a profile. So while you create a profile, this is the ADE profile. Uh, you will have the option for user affinity. So with user affinity, without user affinity, and with Azure AD shared mode. These two are similar in experience, like both the devices are userless devices, but when you enroll without user affinity, there is only the Intune device ID or the device object. There is no associated Azure AD device ID created. But when you do it with the Azure AD shared mode, there will be a Azure AD device ID also associated. But both these will be a userless scenarios. So we will go ahead and create with the user affinity one. And then you have the option to choose the authentication method. So you can either choose company portal, set up assistant with modern authentication. Do not go for the legacy method because if you have conditional access, this will fail. So setup assistant legacy, so that is why it is bracketed as legacy. Don't use that. Either use company portal or use the setup assistant with modern authentication. And if you are going for company portal, then you have the option whether you like, if you do not want the user to, as I said, like the user do not need to actually sign into Apple Store with the Apple ID in case of a AD with user affinity. In the case you have a VPP token. So if you have a VPP token, then you can choose that. Uh, we can also create a VPP token, I think. We okay, let's not go with VPP token now. Supervised is yes always because you have no options to change this. ADE device is always supervised. You can choose to lock the enrollment. You can choose whether this device should sync with other computers or not. You have the options of allow all, deny all, or allow certain computers with a certificate. Then you will have to deploy those certificates to those particular devices where you want the device to be connected with USB 2. You can apply a device name template if you want, whatever that you need. You can also have a cellular data if you are controlling that. Locked enrollment, yes, means user won't able be to remove the device from enrollment. Even if the device is reset, it will again come back to the same state. Allow. And then you have the option to curate the screens that the user will go through. You can put in your contact number for IT, and you can like decide which page you want to show, which page you want to hide, and things like that. That is the reason why we go through out of box enrollment to curate that, because we don't want users to go through all these steps. Everything can be hidden, and you click on next, create. The profile gets created. Once the profile gets created, you have an option to set the profile as a default profile. This means whatever devices will come to this token, whatever devices you will have in here. Right now I have one. If you have multiple, if you have created this profile and set it as default, then all devices will have this profile only. But if you want to have separate profiles, then do not set the profile as a default. You can just go into the device, I think, click on the device checkbox. You can use this assign profile, and from the drop down, you can select the profile that you want to assign to the particular device. So that is how uh, it's done. So once the assignment is saved, uh, you can, like, if you have the device, you can power it on and start going through the enrollment. The communication will happen exactly as I showed you, like in here. So this is what will happen then. So that is how you set up ADE. Now this device was not mine, so I will just remove the device from the ATM. Otherwise, I don't know whose device this is. This is also very important. You do unassign. Whenever you are moving a device from one particular tenant to another particular tenant within the ABM, you do a unassign. You never do a release the device from organization. If you do a release, then the device is deleted from ABM itself. And you will have to take the pain of bringing the device back again via Apple configurator. Sometimes even that is not possible because once you release a device, you will not be able to bring it back yourself without the help of Apple support. So this is a very important thing that when you are working with Apple, your mouse should never come to this option. This option is only there like if the device is end of the life and like your company donates the devices to any charitable organization. Before you give away the device, you wipe the device and then you release it from the organization so that they can use it their way. But while the device is in operation within the organization, you do not click on this, right?
Okay. So Joy, I have a query.
Yep.
So in the previous diagram which you have showed that there are two things. One is the profile that we create, the DEP that we create. So
Hmm.
that DEP is sent to the device via Intune, right? Intune sends the managed config profile. And there is also a provision where Apple Business Manager enforces the enrollment. So in this case, in the example
No,
which you have
whatever
shown,
we are creating in here, this profile that we are creating in here,
Mhm.
Intune is giving us the user interface to create this profile. Apple Business Manager does not have a UI to create a profile. Just like I am adding the devices in here. So what I'm doing, I am adding devices in here, syncing it to Intune, creating a profile, assigning the profile to Intune. So the device will now have a profile assigned, and then this entire information is synced back to Apple Business Manager. So when the device turns on for the first time, the device will not know which Intune tenant it needs to connect to, but the device will know that it needs to check with Apple Business Manager. सेम इन द केस ऑफ ऑटो पायलट. विंडोज ऑटो पायलट जब हम करते हैं, डिवाइस को नहीं पता होता है उसको कौन से टेनेंट पे जाना है. डिवाइस किससे चेक करता है? डिवाइस चेक करता है ऑटो पायलट सर्विस से. इट गोज एंड चेक्स इन द ऑटो पायलट सर्विस रजिस्ट्री और सर्विस डेटाबेस इफ this particular device is registered or not. If it is registered, then from that registration info, the device gets the information to which tenant it needs to connect to. Similarly, in case of Apple, when the device turns on and powers on for the first time and gets connected to a network, it reaches out to Apple Business Manager to check whether it is a registered device or not. If it is a registered device, from there it gets the information, yes, this device is registered to this particular tenant. This particular tenant has this profile assigned to this device. So Apple Business Manager pushes out the profile to the device. Intune does not pushes out the profile. With the profile now on the device, then the device will make contact with Intune for the enrollment and then it will get enrolled.
So Joy, iPhone 7, it's already been enabled. I mean to say it is available in Apple Business Manager. So in order
Yeah.
to upload the device, we need the Apple configurator to upload that iOS devices to the Apple Business Manager, right? Okay.
Yes, so these devices that you see in here, these are the devices that are already huh? Where did the devices went?
Just it's any filter is added,
A
Joy.
filter is added
Remove.
some.
these devices are already added in here.
Yeah.
Now, how they are added, I don't know. They may be added from the vendor that is already there because this tenant already has a vendor,
Mm-hmm.
as I showed you. Again, where is that? So this server already has a vendor, one active.
Mm-hmm.
So this may have come from the vendor, or this may have also come in from Apple configurator. Like I had my iPad in here, so it was from Apple configurator. This one, I, I, this device is now released from this organization. I cannot add it back in here.
Okay.
So whatever devices you are seeing in release state, those are the stale entries. You can only work with devices which are either in the assigned state or unassigned state. So in this state, there are only two devices left in this tenant, in this IBM instance. This MacBook Air and this iPhone 7.
Okay, sure. So you selected iPhone 7, you assigned for the
I
respective
just
token.
selected iPhone 7 I
Uh,
just selected this device because it was available and I just wanted to show you how it syncs to Intune.
okay. So if I have 50 devices, Joy, so Apple
Hmm.
configurator, so they have uploaded 50 devices. So
Hmm.
do we need to manually add to the respective server token? I mean to say the newly created token, Joy, from Apple.
No,
Okay.
if your ABM instance is not connected to multiple tenants like this ABM instance is,
Okay.
in such cases, when you have a MDM token in here, you can make that particular token the default assignment token. So whatever iPads are like, if iPads are being uploaded, you can choose this token as the token where your iPads will get like added to Mac and iPhone and things like that. You can choose whatever you have.
Okay, Joy, understood.
Yeah, so Joy, is there any expiry for this particular token?
1 year.
Okay.
So just like 365 days until expiry, uh, you have to renew the token within that. It's the same story as APNS. Even the same story for VPP app also. So VPP token is also valid for 1 year. Okay. So now we will come to the facts. Uh, Automated device enrollment cannot be used with device enrollment manager account. You cannot use that. It only works for an out of the box device, like a new device. So existing devices, if you want them to go through ADE, those they needs to be wiped so that they again start from the initial setup. Uh, Device type restriction under enrollment restriction should have all user policy uh, uh, like it should not be set to block. Otherwise, your automated enrollment will fail, showing an invalid profile. So, what does that mean? This means that when you create a restriction profile, now where did they took the restriction again? Uh, Not device limit. device platform. If you have multiple restrictions created, say for example, priority one, and here, huh? Didn't I selected Apple?
Android, Android, I think so. Android. Yeah, वहाँ ऊपर it's
Last.
last में.
Ah, how foolish is this? मतलब ये कौन
Yeah,
यूआई डिजाइन
exactly.
करता है ऐसा?
हाँ,
मैं ऊपर
अपन
में
एप्पल में
चूज
जाके
करके आया, एप्पल चूज करके. See if I do this. Nah, let me do this. Allow this one and say this is applied to some group of users, and all users I come and I block this, right? If this is the present scenario that I have, that all users is blocked, but I am allowing certain users to enroll iOS devices. In such cases, my ADE enrollment will fail. So the default profile that is applicable for all users should not have the platform locked. It should be allowed. Acha. So maximum token per Intune account, you can have 2000 tokens. Maximum enrollment profile per token is 1000. Maximum devices per token is 2 lakhs. Maximum devices per profile is same as the maximum number of devices per token. So that is again 2 lakhs. Maximum device sync is 3000 devices syncs in 1 minute. That is the maximum amount of device that can sync. Full sync runs every 7 days, and delta sync runs every 12 hours. Uh, the sync that we are also running in here, when we go into the profile, and here I had the sync button, right? This sync that we are running is also a delta sync, but only in case if the previous delta sync that happened failed for some reason, and then I click a sync in here, then that will be a full sync. But I will not get to know if it was a full sync or a delta sync anyways. It's only Microsoft that gets to know this. Uh, to ensure that user interaction isn't required, you will probably want to make company portal as a VPP application available as a required app, so that users do not get to prompts for the Apple ID. Again, say if authentication method is set to company portal, you have to ensure that the enrollment is completed within the first 24 hours of the company portal installed on the device. If say the device has completed the enrollment, company portal is there, but the user has not signed into company portal within the first 24 hours, then the enrollment fails and the factory reset will be required. Multi-factor authentication isn't supported when you set company portal to a single application mode, because if you put company portal in a single application mode, you will not get OTP, like you cannot get. So that is the limitation. And if a BYOD device, like a personal device, is converted to a automated device by Apple configurator or any other way, uh, then we are allowed to use the remove device and factory reset for 30 days. Uh, After 30 days, that option is disabled. So that is there. So these are all the facts. Done.
Yes, sir.
Troubleshooting is this. So first step is you will check whether the token has expired or not. Uh, if you need to renew the DEP token, then a factory reset will be required. If the DEP token is not expired, uh, then ABM Business Portal every year comes up with new terms and conditions page. So you need to ensure that one of the administrators has signed into ABM and accepted the terms and conditions. Uh, when restoring to a different device than the one on which the backup was performed, uh, after the backup is successfully restored, setup assistant will continue with the enrollment process. ये दो पॉइंट में मुझे कौन बताएगा क्या हो रहा है? When restoring to a different device from the one and when restoring to the same device. ये दो पॉइंट में क्या हो रहा है? Read it and tell me what is happening.
Speak up, guys.
So enrollment happen with the vendor A. It's not an Intune, Joy. So, but we're restoring the same device, but attempt to enroll in Intune, then it will fail. So, though MDM enrollment vendor say that. That's my understanding.
Now, this point talks about one important aspect, that is iCloud backup. Whenever we are resetting a device and trying to set it up, there is an option that you get to restore the
True.
device from an previous iCloud backup.
Correct.
Now, when you do that, when you restore a device from a previous iCloud backup, what is the kind of behavior that you are going to expect is what this lines tells you. So, say for example, I have two iPhones. I have one that I am already using. It's enrolled, managed. It has iCloud backup. I today go out and purchase a new iPhone and I try to enroll. When I put because Apple is a closed ecosystem and they have such wonderful sync between the devices, whenever it will detect the old iPhone that I have, like if the iPhones are nearby, it will automatically detect. The new iPhone will ask me to restore it from its backup. If I do that, the enrollment will continue, right? Now say the old device that I'm doing, I reset it and I then during the initial setup, I restore it from the iCloud backup. In this case, enrollment will not continue. However, enrollment will also not fail because the iCloud backup will already back up my previous management state of the device in here. Now, these two scenarios, I'm talking about my device. Now consider about different device. Say my device was enrolled to a different MDM solution or this device is different. Then what can happen? So that is where it tells when restoring a backup while the device was enrolled in some different vendor, if you restore it on the same device but attempt to enroll it to Intune, it will not work. It will fail. So in such case, you will always have to uh, set up the device as a new device. You cannot use the restore method. And when you are restoring your device from a iCloud backup, you need to keep in mind of the following considerations like, does the device record still exist in Intune? Does the Azure AD device record still exist in Intune? And what about the management certificate? The certificates are valid for a year. Does the backup contains a valid management certificate?
Mhm.
If any of this is false, then your enrollment will fail. Now, because of all these complexities that we have, that is why we say to correctly and fully re-enroll a AD device, a factory device is required, and the device, if it was previously managed, should not be restored from its own backup. This is the best practice. If you are having a user that is complaining that the enrollment is not happening, and when you ask the user and you get to know that he or she is trying to back up from an old iCloud restore, inform the user, please set it up as a new device. Later on, you can back it up.
Okay.
सबसे ज्यादा problem, the most problem for ADE enrollment comes from iCloud backup. Done? Any questions?
So device, like the device is now ADE, like with enroll profile comes from ABM itself. So
Mm.
after we create a profile in Intune, okay, so all compliance policies, configuration policies can be deployed from Intune itself. No need of deploying the policies from ABM, correct? We
No,
can do.
you do not deploy policies from ABM. ABM
Okay.
does not have that.
Yeah, we can do it from Intune itself. But the
You
question
have
is
to
like,
do
yeah,
everything from Intune.
okay, because as
ABM
you
does
said,
not have a UI to even create a policy or something like that. That is why the initial enrollment profile also that you are creating,
mm-hmm,
this profile you are creating in Intune, but it is being pushed by Apple Business Manager because Apple Business Manager does not have a portal where you can do one.
okay,
But after that, everything that it comes, you do compliance, you do app deployment, everything as usual from Intune.
Intune, okay, understood, sir.
Okay, so now we have seen how Apple device gets into a managed state using both a user initiated enrollment as well as with automated device enrollment. So the next important thing is that we configure policies, we configure compliances, we deploy applications to the devices. So how Intune communicates with the managed device? So Intune needs to apply a configuration profile. Intune needs to evaluate compliance. Intune needs to send the application. How will Intune do that? So user, again, as I said, the device enrollment is right in here, right? I take this off as well. This is when the device is in a enrolled state from our previous illustrations, right?
Yes, sure.
Okay, so now me as an admin, I initiate a remote action on the device. How will Intune go ahead and send the remote action on the device or notify the device that there is some changes made? You need to get the new configuration. So using the push notification token that was registered against the device record in the Intune database, Intune will create a push notification to Apple push notification services,
Okay,
right? The current status for Intune is sent. Apple push notification services receives the message from Intune. It checks the token and it sees which device it needs to contact to, and it delivers the push notification to the device. The state of the push notification now changes from sent to pushed because Apple push notification services has pushed it. If the device is offline or it is off grid from network, it won't be able to receive the push message. That is very true. So it will miss that. Now, considering that the device is online, it received the push message. So the same push message is now forwarded to the company portal app on the device. The company portal app then initiates the device management session with Intune, and Intune then sends whatever uh, what to say, whatever profile configuration or things that it was intending to do. And the status of the command becomes acknowledged. If any error occurs, then you get to see the error action in there. So for example, if I'm doing something like this on Intune, I go ahead, I have a device, I initiate a device action. Wow. Let's not come into iPad, let's come into Windows. Say for example, I initiate a sync. This will result in a push notification being sent. If the device is online, it will receive the push notification and will initiate the sync. If the device is offline and there happens an error in here, then this notification that sync is initiated, it will return with an error. This something bad happened, or the service is down or something like that. So that is where it gets error. But say if it is successful, then company portal parses the command and tries to get it affected on the device via the OS APIs. As I said, if completed successfully, it sends the message back to Intune that the status is success, and then you get that the sync completed successfully. That is how Intune communicates. Or if the device is not able to perform the command at that moment, then it sends Intune a not now signal. The most common cause for a not now is that the device is locked with a passcode. If the device is locked with a passcode and data protection is enabled, then Intune cannot silently initiate a command while the device is locked. So it will send a not now command. And that is how Intune communicates with Apple devices as an overview. Any questions in here? No questions. I will move forward. Troubleshooting, I already talked about this. So how to retrieve logs if you need in case you need to connect your device with the Mac and then use the console app on the Mac to generate a log while reproducing the issue. And next we come to the section of app deployment. So what type of applications can we deploy to iOS device?
So line of business applications,
Store
Okay.
apps,
store
VPP
apps.
apps, line of business applications.
Okay, so store apps is first one. We can uh, obviously deploy it. We can deploy web links. We can deploy line of business applications, and we can deploy VPP applications. These are only four types of applications that we can deploy to Apple device with Microsoft Intune, right?
Yes.
So how does store like application deployment works? There is a device having company portal and Intune. Now, if I want to deploy a store app or a LOB app or a VPP application, VPP application comes from Apple Business Manager, right?
Yes.
Acha. VPP app can be of how many types?
Device and user.
Yes. Whenever we are creating an application, what Intune does, are we actually like creating the application in Intune or we are creating an entry in Intune for that application?
Entry actually, because storage Intune is not a storage service.
Yeah. So we actually create a object identifiable identifier, which is a GUID, which corresponds to the object that is stored in the Azure Blob Storage of the tenant. Intune uses Azure Blob Storage in its backend to store application data. Now, if it is a store app, if it is a VPP application, the GUID only contains a pointer or a link to that particular service. It does not contains the actual application data in itself. But in case if it is a LOB app, then the IPA file that we upload to Intune is stored in that Azure Blob Storage. So in that instance, Intune is actually storing the application to the Azure Blob Storage, right?
Yes.
Okay, so it comes in here, Azure Blob Storage, and from there, obviously, as I said, Intune will need APNS service to communicate with the device. So APNS will send the push notification to the device, which is basically to the company portal app. Company portal app will go ahead to Microsoft Intune and it will get the application back. Now, once it gets the application back, it installs the application in four phases. The first is the install app when it is actually calling the link. When Microsoft Intune is sending this communication back, so Intune is requesting for the application and Microsoft Intune is sending the application back. Microsoft Intune is not sending the actual application to Intune. It is only sending the download link to company portal. So this install app will actually call the download links. So if it is a store app, then the device will go to the store, download the content, get the and report the app status. If it is a VPP, then it will go to Apple Business Manager and download the application. If it is a IPFL or LOB application, then it will go to the Azure Blob Storage and download it, right? And that is how you get the application status. Any questions?
No, just 2 points. I think VPP and web links. I need to focus on that later. I think
The web links are just URLs you publish as an app so that it comes like
shortcut to the device
ha.
and
So there is nothing in that. Mostly like internal applications which are published by Azure App Proxy, such applications are published as web links.
suppose you need a URL to be used, like for us is atos.net. So that kind of
Ha,
thing.
so you can just publish it as a web link and send it to the device. The application icon will basically act as a shortcut to open that in Safari.
Okay. And for VPP Joy means I know we normally use it's a user based device. So it's just for the bulk enrollment or from the through ABM as a managed deployment of apps, or does it play a other role also? I need to misunderstand more on VPP point of view. Or what's the actual
Mm,
use that VPP comes into picture with ABM?
The use of VPP comes into the picture is VPP app is also a store app, and the store app is also a store app. But to use a store app, you will need a Apple ID configured on the device. But if you use a VPP app, you do not need a Apple ID configured on the device. Again, there is a star conditions applied. If the VPP app is of type license type user, then you will need a Apple ID configured on the device. But if it's a license type device, then you do not need a Apple ID configured on the device. So mostly we deploy VPP apps of type license type device, uh, so that end users do not actually have to sign into the app store, but still can have all the applications available to them. या फिर uh, you have a userless device enrolled and you want to deploy a application to that device. You can easily do a VPP device type application deployment to that device, whereas you will have problems to deploy a store app.
Okay, because that is coming through your managed through ABM directly.
Yes.
Also, for the ADE, it's advised that use the device licensing for the company portal
Portal,
because
हाँ. So that your user is not prompted to enter a Apple ID. क्योंकि Apple ID जब भी एंटर करने की बात आता है डिवाइस पे, वहीं से एक्टिवेशन लॉक का बात स्टार्ट हो जाता है. You can overcome activation lock on a ADE device using a configuration profile, but फिर भी we should try to make the user not sign into the app store as much as possible. Now iOS का जब बात आता है, इसमें LOB applications का जब बात आता है, वो .ipa files का, that .ipa files also bring with itself another problem. Like for Apple, everything is valid for 1 year. APNS certificate is valid for 1 year. AD token is valid for 1 year. VPP token is valid for 1 year. Similarly, the IPA file that you are uploading to Microsoft Intune is also valid for 1 year. तो उसको that if you want to have that application continued to be in use with Intune, you will need a provisioning profile. So ये भी एक और कहानी है एप्पल का कि you need a provisioning profile for your IPA applications in order for those applications to work after 1 year. So why does a provisioning profile is required in the first place?
So that there are no means the app is authenticated and there are no means it's authorized by Apple.
Hmm. Because Apple is a closed ecosystem and Apple does not allows much third-party applications to run on their devices, but they allow third-party applications, but they thoroughly check and only then allow. The only reason is why because they want to control the user experience. So the user experience that you get out of an iPhone 14 is the same user experience that you will get on an iPhone 11, is the same experience that you will get on an iPhone 8 or iPhone SE as well, right? Apple does not sell a device. Apple sells user experience. This user experience is something that is not what we see with Androids. And that is why Apple has so much restrictions. And that is why they need a provisioning profile, because they want to ensure that the piece of code that is running on the device has not been altered with, it is coming from a trusted developer or a signer, and to determine whether that code is even trustworthy or not. And in order to accomplish this, they have set up this chain of authority where it's like a custody, which establishes that whether an application can run on the device or not. So this is how the provisioning profile comes into the picture. And in order, like if you want to distribute LOB applications to your iOS devices, you will first need to have an Apple developer ID created. Uh, Apple developer ID is not something that is free of cost. So
$99 per annum.
तो पैसे वाले ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के पास ही होते हैं, एंड हम लोग के पास तो होने का चांसेस है नहीं, बिकॉज जो इंफॉर्मेशन वो रिक्वायर करता है टू इवन साइन अप फॉर एप्पल डेवलपर आईडी, वी एज अ इंडिविजुअल कैन नॉट प्रोवाइड दोज इंफॉर्मेशन, तो हम लोग के लिए वो होता नहीं है.
Because of
बट
Dunn's Joy.
डन्स है, देन और भी बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस है दैट इज रिलेटेड टू डेवलपमेंट जो हम लोग का नहीं है.
Okay.
सो बट वर्किंग उसका कैसे काम करता है इज मोर और लेस लाइक दिस. सो you have a Apple Developer Enterprise program, uh, and you have a DUNS registered ID with Apple. Based on this, you get a Apple Developer ID from where you can get an enterprise sign-in certificate. With the help of this enterprise sign-in certificate, you can create a application that you are doing. Now, IP application का most information उसका .plist file में रहता है. So the plist file, it talks about the application ID, bundle ID, Apple, the app capabilities and the certificate. And this certificate that it's talk about is this enterprise signing certificate. This certificate that you generated is valid for 3 years. So in theory, this application that you created should be valid for 3 years. But Intune में सब कुछ एक ही साल में expire हो जाता है. So for 1 year, this application is good, you deployed. If you want to have this application run for another 2 years, so every next year, you will have to create a provisioning profile with this enterprise sign-in certificate and deploy to the same device to make the application running. 3 साल खत्म हो गया, like you complete 3 years. After that, you will need to get a new enterprise signing certificate and repackage the entire app. हुआ क्लियर? इसमें इससे ज्यादा और क्लियर मैं नहीं कर पाऊंगा.
इसका नोटिफिकेशन आता है प्रोविजनिंग प्रोफाइल एक्सपायरी का जॉय?
हाँ आता है.
आता है.
आता है तुमको एप्लीकेशन, अगर तुम्हारे पास एलओबी एप्लीकेशंस है तो वहां पे तुम पोर्टल में जब वो एप्लीकेशन व्यू करते हो तो उसमें भी दिखाता है, मतलब 40 days टू एक्सपायर ऐसे करके वो काउंटडाउन भी दिखाता है.
सो अभी जो जनरली प्रैक्टिस करते हैं अपना पैकेजिंग टीम, वो क्या करते हैं, जो अपडेटेड वर्जन रहता है ना, जैसे कि 10.2 है तो 10.3 आया तो उसमें प्रोविजनिंग प्रोफाइल अपडेट सर्टिफिकेट करके डाल देंगे, एंड दैट विल कंटिन्यू. जैसे जो ने बोला कि अप टू 3 years जो एंटरप्राइज साइनिंग सर्टिफिकेट के साथ है। लेकिन अगर एंटरप्राइज इसमें कैच ये है कि अगर इन केस डेवलपर तुम्हारा छुट्टी पे कहीं चला गया तो iOS प्रोविजनिंग सर्टिफिकेट अगर अवेलेबल है, यू कैन डिप्लॉय डायरेक्टली थ्रू द इंट्यून साइड एंड दैट विल गिव द एक्सटेंशन टू यूज ऑन एग्जिस्टिंग डिवाइसेस।
यस।
अभी कभी जाओगे तो ऐप प्रोटेक्शन पॉलिसी नहीं, एप्स के ऐप प्रोटेक्शन पॉलिसी के अंदर ही आता है राइट, और नीचे ऐप प्रोविजनिंग, यस iOS ऐप प्रोविजनिंग प्रोफाइल।
हाँ, एप्स के अंदर इधर पे ही आता है iOS ऐप प्रोविजनिंग प्रोफाइल। ये क्रिएट जब करोगे तो तुमको यहाँ पे प्रोविजनिंग प्रोफाइल मांगेगा। एक दैट एक्सटेंशन इज अ डॉट मोबाइल प्रोविजनिंग, एंड ये बनता है सिर्फ वही जो एंटरप्राइज सर्टिफिकेट मैंने दिखाया था उसी से बनता है। So, like as Saurav जैसे बोला, if the developer is on leave or the developer is not available, but if you have access to the enterprise signing certificate and you see your applications are expiring, so you can quickly create a provisioning profile and deploy it to the device groups to continue, so that the users can continue to use the application. But after 3 years, anyways, you won't be able to create a new app provisioning profile. At that point of time, your developer will need to get a new enterprise signing certificate from Apple using the developer ID and then repackage the entire application again, which will again go for that 1 year, 2 year, 3 year thing. So it continues every 1 year cycle. और इसी से एप्पल पैसा कमाता है बस।
तो हर बार जब when I get a notification for those app provisioning profile मेरी expire होगी, I need to go to the developer in case he's available. He'll repackage with the new profile and then we'll upload it.
हाँ,
And it will be extended for 1 year up to 3 years.
यस। तो दैट इज ऑल अबाउट एप्पल। एप्पल का और कुछ है नहीं।
एक इंफॉर्मेशन और है, लाइक फॉर एलओबी एप्लीकेशन द साइज लिमिट इज, Rajit knows, but for others it's up to 2 GB, and that can be extended as well, but subject to your contract with the Microsoft. Means the LOB size, the size of the LOB application upload is up to 2 GB.
विंडोज के लिए
8 GB expandable up to 32 GB.
यस।
And for Android Enterprise,
So MB
100 MB
150 MB if application
2021.
created 2021 and later, and before 2021 application है तो then 100 MB.
100 MB, right?
जो एक few questions on few मतलब पहले की slides पे, what is the, because you selected to set up assistant with modern authentication and company portal, what is the basically the difference lies there? मतलब हम legacy को छू नहीं रहे हैं, but what difference lies there, why we go with company portal preferably if so?